When Daniel Fisher lost his job, the world did not collapse in a dramatic crash. It shifted quietly, almost politely, like a chair being pulled away just as he began to sit. The email arrived on a gray Tuesday morning in Hamburg, while rain traced thin lines down the office windows. He read it once, then again, as if the words might rearrange themselves out of pity, due to restructuring. Position redondante. Appreciation for your service. His hands felt cold. Around him, keyboards kept clicking. Someone laughed near the coffee machine. Life, indifferent and precise, continued. At 42, Daniel had believed he was secure. He had given 15 years to the logistics company, arriving early, leaving late, believing loyalty was a kind of shield. He had a small apartment overlooking the Elbe, a daughter named Mila, who visited every second weekend, and a routine so steady it felt like identity. That afternoon, he packed his desk into a cardboard box. A framed photo of Mila at age 6, missing her front teeth and grinning without shame. A ceramic mug that read, "Best Papa in the World," a plant he had forgotten to water more than once. When he stepped outside, the air smelled of wet pavement and diesel. He stood there longer than necessary, watching trams glide past, people hurrying under umbrellas. No one could see that something inside him had cracked. The first weeks were heavy. He woke at 6 out of habit, then lay staring at the ceiling, listening to the radiator click. He sent applications, adjusted his CV, rehearsed answers to questions that never came. Rejections arrived like polite slaps. "Thank you for your interest. We have chosen another candidate." One evening, Mila sat across from him at the kitchen table, swinging her legs. She was 12 now, serious in a way children become when they sense adult worry. "Papa, are you sad?" she asked softly. He forced a smile. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About what comes next." She studied him with clear blue eyes. "My teacher says when something bad happens, you can choose what it means." Daniel almost laughed. "Is that so?" "She says it can be an ending or a beginning. It depends how you look at it." After she went to bed, her words stayed with him. It depends how you look at it. He thought of all the nights he had complained about his job, the long hours, the constant pressure. He had felt trapped then. Now he felt abandoned. The irony stung. The next morning, instead of opening his laptop immediately, he went for a walk along the river. The sky was pale, the water restless. Runners passed him, breath visible in the cold. An elderly man fed swans, speaking to them as if they understood. Daniel inhaled deeply. The air burned his lungs, but it felt honest. He realized he had not truly paused in years. He had been moving forward out of fear, not purpose. Positive thinking had always sounded naive to him, like a slogan printed on a cheap poster. He believed in hard work and realism, but realism he saw now had turned into quiet pessimism. He had expected disappointment so often that it became familiar. Standing by the river, he tried something uncomfortable. He asked himself what this moment might be giving him instead of taking away. The answer did not come immediately. It unfolded slowly over the next weeks.
He began volunteering at a community center in Altona,
helping immigrants practice German conversation. At first he went because it filled empty hours, but soon he found himself looking forward to it. There was Farid from Syria, who had once been an engineer and now struggled to pronounce Strassenbahn. There was Alina from Ukraine, who laughed at her own mistakes and tried again. One afternoon after a long session, Farid said, "You explain with patience. You should be a teacher." Daniel shook his head. "I worked in logistics." Farid smiled gently. Maybe that was before. The idea unsettled him. Teacher. It felt both impossible and strangely right. He had always enjoyed mentoring younger colleagues at work, breaking down complex systems into simple steps. He had just never considered it valuable. At home, he began researching adult education programs. The thought of starting over at his age frightened him. He imagined interviews where younger candidates radiated confidence. He imagined failing, but each time fear rose, he practiced reframing it. This is not humiliation. This is growth. This is not rejection. This is redirection. The transformation was not magical. Some days he still felt heavy, especially when bills arrived. There were nights he lay awake calculating savings, imagining worst-case scenarios. Positive thinking did not erase problems. It changed how he faced them. Months later, he received an invitation for an interview at a vocational school seeking instructors with real-world experience. On the morning of the interview, rain fell again, just like the day he lost his job. He stood before the mirror, adjusting his tie. His reflection looked older than he remembered, faint lines around the eyes, silver at the temples. But there was something steadier there, too. In the interview room, a panel of 3 waited. They asked about his career, his unemployment, his volunteer work. One woman leaned forward. "Why do you want to teach now?" Daniel paused. He felt his heartbeat in his throat. He could give a strategic answer, something polished. Instead, he chose honesty. "Because losing my job forced me to see that I was living on autopilot," he said quietly. "I realized I don't just want stability. I want meaning. When I help someone understand something they thought was impossible, I feel useful in a deeper way. I want more of that." Silence followed. Not cold, but thoughtful. A week later, the offer came. When he told Mila, she threw her arms around him. See, beginning, not ending. On his first day at the vocational school, he stood before a classroom of adults retraining for new careers. Some looked nervous. Some looked skeptical. He recognized that expression. He had worn it himself. He wrote on the board in careful letters, "Logistics is not just about goods. It is about movement, connection, trust." As he spoke, something inside him aligned. The room smelled of chalk and coffee. Outside, the city moved as it always had. But inside, Daniel felt awake. Years later, he would tell his students about that Tuesday email. Not as a tragedy, but as a turning point. He would tell them that positive thinking is not pretending everything is fine. It is deciding that even when it is not, you will search for possibility instead of defeat. On an autumn afternoon, standing once more by the Elbe, he watched the water shimmer gold under the setting sun. He thought about the man he had been, clinging to certainty, afraid of disruption. He felt gratitude for the disruption now. Sometimes life removes the chair so you learn to stand on your own strength. Daniel closed his eyes, breathing in the cool German air, and understood that the power of positive thinking had not changed his circumstances overnight. It had changed him, and that had changed everything.